All right, we are live, week 4, outdated and uneducated preview show. How's it going?
Oh, it's going really good. Watching that game that was supposed to be crap go down to the wire, but here we are. Now a little Thursday night thriller between the Jaguars and the Bengals, just two powerhouse franchises.
Just like everyone called it. So,
Yeah.
and I tried to go with the Bengals defense, thinking the Jaguars were going to be trash, and actually, Trevor Lawrence has looked all right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Today he has. Before today, not so great. But hey, I mean, 3 games in would be a very quick learning curve for sure.
Yeah, and obviously we can kind of get into this maybe in future weeks as well. But all of these rookie quarterbacks have really kind of they've struggled, right? So
Yeah, yeah, they've disappointed a little bit for sure.
and even Joe Burrow, a sophomore quarterback, he's struggled, and it really goes to show in the NFL how important the quarterback position really is.
Yeah, I mean it's everything, right? You can really it's really hard to do it without either a great quarterback or a plus value quarterback. It's like a good quarterback on a rookie deal or just a really good quarterback. Like it's hard to drive success as a rookie in the NFL for sure. Be an
Absolutely.
outlier if anyone did. It would be an outlier to the norm. Right?
And that's obviously going into our first game to talk about that's why Sean McVay really went hard after Matthew Stafford, right? That's
Yeah.
what they needed.
Yeah, and I questioned it. I questioned it. So far, it pays off. So far, it's paid off for them for sure. I was not sold to begin with on that transaction because it was like, ooh, giving up a lot, and we don't like he isn't like proven much, right, in his whole career. Besides, he has flashes of greatness. Like that's the only thing that's been proven.
Well, obviously, he has really been on teams where he's had to throw it and he's had to come from behind. So he has a talent, but you're right, that kind of winning mentality. And now he's got a team and a coach that really believes in him and a system, right? Um, it, Obviously, it's a really tough division, but they're really with that Bucks game, they really proved that they have what it takes. Oh, I think we lost you sound wise.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, they
There we go.
are. They are here. They are here. They have burst upon the scene for sure. That is a plant your flag type of win that we saw them pull off in just like convincing fashion for against the Bucks. Absolutely. And who are we gonna we're gonna talk about them today. We're gonna talk about them versus the Cardinals, Rams Cardinals.
Yeah, and that's obviously another team that really has exploded this year offensively, and so
Yeah.
obviously this is another marquee matchup for the week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I'm really looking forward to that. It's just two offense that can throw the piss out of the ball, two quarterbacks that are fun to watch, and I don't see. I mean, advantage Rams from overall roster standpoint, right? But I don't see either team shutting the other one down. Certainly, that has not been a good Cardinals defense, and that might be what prevents them from taking the next step. Is teams that also can throw the ball, put points on the board, run the ball, and play a little defense too.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about the Cardinals defense. I did look into some of their defensive numbers, and they actually have 10 sacks this year. Obviously, week 1 they had 6, so that really
Yeah.
added the total. But they've actually done decent in the secondary. They've done all right, but they've really been susceptible to the secondary receivers. So, and obviously, as you've seen, the teams have put points up on the board against them.
Yeah, they did. They do have splashy plays. They have pretty good. I mean, they have Jones on the outside. So it he just gets sacks, right? So like, there's gonna be a period. There's gonna be a game. There's gonna be a stretch of games where he just gets sacks because it's what he does. He gets to the quarterback. I don't see it completely derailing though, because that Buffalo or sorry that Bucks team also had a lot of players that can get to the quarterback on it, and it's different, of course, but I would take the Buffalo defense over this. Or sorry, Buffalo again. I would take the Buccaneers defense over this Cardinals defense for sure, and the Rams just lit that defense up, right? It's gonna be a fun one for sure. It's gonna be one where you start all your players. It's hard to see. It is a little hard to see the Cardinals winging it now that I really start to think about it, right?
Right.
It's just like a slight disadvantage in a couple areas where it's really going to matter. I don't know how much Aaron Donald's going to affect this game because interior pressure isn't as effective against Kyler Murray as it would be against a lot of other quarterbacks. But Jalen Ramsey's going to affect this game. Absolutely. He's gonna be on Hopkins, sticking to him on those when that play does get extended, and that's going to take away a lot of big plays. Now, if there are other receivers, go ahead.
Talk a little bit about that, about Kyler Murray, why he's not susceptible, or the interior.
It's just it's two really. He's a very quick processor, but he's a very quick rotator in the pocket. He gets to his second, third read extremely quickly. He doesn't have the quickest release, but he processes quickly, and he's just so explosive with his legs. It's different than we see pretty much anywhere in the league. He's just this little guy, and he's got so much bounce, right? It doesn't look like Lamar Jackson. It doesn't look like one of some of these bigger running quarterbacks. He's just like one step and he's gone, and good luck, right? So he takes 3 steps back, and he can get around the outside on you too, right? You have to have a complete pass rush to slow him down. There's no one aspect of a pass rush that's going to slow him down. So the Rams are going to have to get at him with their linebackers too in that 3-4 front. They're like maybe Troy Reader, but they have some quick guys on the edge for sure. But I don't see that pass rush containing. It's not complete enough, I don't think, to contain Kyler Murray.
All right. And you talked about obviously Jalen Ramsey being on Hopkins, so obviously this could be a Rondale Moore, or even some of the other
AJ Green
week.
Yeah, I'd start AJ Green for sure. I would feel great about a second or third receiver in this game. As a flex or wide receiver 3 at best, right? But still, I wouldn't feel bad about that at all, because Kyler has found his trust in him, and they're even getting him involved on some quick outs, some little screens. We saw him use a quick pass on the goal line, right? So there's plays being drawn up for him, so the coach trusts him. Kyler seems to trust him, and Hopkins is probably going to draw most of the attention from Jalen Ramsey.
And on the other side of the ball, receiver-wise, obviously Stafford has really leaned on Cooper Kupp. It's so interesting with the Cardinals being susceptible to the secondary receivers. I don't want to do this. Obviously, I did my Twitter poll about Robert Woods. I don't know. I have a feeling like this could be a Robert Woods game. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, any game, I guess, could be, right? He's just a solid receiver on a good offense. I don't know. So I guess the argument would be you got Budda Baker over the top, right? And he's probably going to be shaded towards your number one receiver. It could work, right? They're going to need help. They're going to need help on Cooper Kupp because he's dominating. So if Cooper Kupp is being game planned for, there's definitely an opportunity for Robert Woods. Once again, flex wide receiver 3 at best this week for me. But if you drafted him high and you have him, sometimes you just got to start the guy and hope.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I like that you brought up Budda Baker. Obviously he got the fame last year. On the other end of the DK Metcalf play, right? But he's a really solid player. Defensively.
Yeah, he's one of my favorite defensive players in the league. He's one of my favorite players to draft in IDP leagues. We don't really talk about them because no one wants to hear it. But he is a hell of a playmaker on the back end there. It's just got good matchups across the board. It's going to be a fun game. It's hard to see either team scoring less than 20-something points, so you always feel good. You always feel good when that's the the case.
Yeah, and so I was kind of looking at that. Obviously, we look at it being a high-scoring game, and it'll be interesting. I think one of the keys might be the Rams' running backs, and if they can control the ball and keep it out of Kyler Murray's hands, maybe that's a key for them. And obviously, we're starting. Yeah, I mean, we're pretty much starting them all the Rams, right? And
Oh,
all the
Henderson, how's he looking? Are we feeling confident about Henderson this week? I'm not super confident in him right now, but I guess you have to play him if he's healthy, right?
yeah. So I thought he was still hurt, and so
Questionable.
obviously, was he questionable? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And so depending if he plays or not, Sonny Michelle has some upside,
Oh yeah, big
but
time.
that's he's kind of in the Robert Woods category for me. Obviously, if I have him and I need him, I'll start him. And if I just kind of want to do like a shot in the dark or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and start him. Especially knowing that you know all the things that you talked about with Kyler Murray, they definitely want to keep the ball out of his hands, and that might be a way to do it, to really control the ball, control
Yeah,
the
yeah,
clock.
and I agree. It's probably going to be Sony Michelle. It is a rib injury, and he's limited on Thursday, right? And so
Mhm.
maybe it's a quick recovery from a rib injury to a running back, though. That is such a rough one,
Mhm.
because your ribs just take a pounding, and there's no way to protect him. So I could see him maybe playing. I would not be surprised if he stops playing once he starts playing. And Sony Michelle gets, because that's what they brought him on, right? How much worse is Sony Michelle than Henderson? Maybe none.
Right.
Maybe better.
Right.
Is there? You know what I mean? They're around the same. They're in the same plane of existence. So yeah, I would think if it were my team, I'd probably lean on Sony Michelle this weekend and let Henderson rest up a little bit, because that's the benefit of having two playable running backs.
Absolutely. So I don't know what you have the score as, but you know, I have it right now as Rams 28, Cardinals 24. I really like what you talked about Kyler Murray, so that kind of starting to sway me a little bit. But I think the Rams do really have what it takes. They just kind of got that moxie, that they've got that confidence, and offensively and defensively, where they're starting to click. So I'm going to go with the Rams here.
Yeah, they're riding high. I would say something like 31-28 Rams for sure. Just because this team, this Cardinals team can put up 21 points in a quarter, and it wouldn't be that surprising, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so I think it might end up being close at the end. Maybe not as close at halftime. We'll see. We'll see.
right.
I love it. Love it. Love it. All
Yeah.
right, where are we going to next?
So speaking of your team,
Oh, we're going Vikings Browns. This is gonna be such a fun one. It's gonna be a
yeah,
fun game. Vikings are probably gonna lose this one. But I do like the matchup. I like it's a fun narrative, right? These coaches know each other. It's not just like typical, oh, like used to be on the staff. Kevin Stefanski was in that organization for almost the entire time Mike Zimmer was. Maybe actually longer than Mike Zimmer. He was in that. So like they've worked together for 7 years.
hmm
So like they know each other. That is an interesting matchup. Even deeper than most of these like revenge games. I think these two coaches, Zimmer and Stefanski, know each other quite well, and it's going to be a fun one because both teams can attack, and well, Vikings can defend a little bit at home.
right. And so obviously, Kirk Cousins is really, I don't know if quietly, but yeah, I mean, he really has kind of, he's been unheralded, and he's really had a heck of a season so far. And you
hmm
know, as far as the secondary, the Browns secondary, is that really their strength? I don't know.
It's certainly not their strength, but they have a really well-rounded roster. And I suppose if you had to pick a weakness, it would be the secondary, and right now the wide receiver corps with their injuries.
Hmm
But it's not a bad secondary. They have good safeties. Johnson the third over the top, he's one of the better ones in the league. Rams are going to miss him this year. They're missing him less than everyone thought they might. but
Right, right.
but he's yeah, it's gonna be tough to go over the top. Vikings haven't been running the same game plan quite that they did last year, though. It's way less about the explosive plays, and I am all about it, to be honest, because that was all that all the fans were jerking off to it last year. Oh, most explosive offense. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything,
No,
right?
no,
You
no.
get nothing for that. You get nothing. It's not even that meaningful of an award in a trophy case. It doesn't even translate to wins clearly because they had a losing record, right? So,
Yeah.
but I like what they're doing now, it's a lot smarter. Clint Kubiak has blown everyone away. No one expected this. Everyone was like, yeah, I guess maybe, but he was the wide receiver coach at what was it, like UNC like 5 years ago. No, where was it? It was like one of the worst college Kansas. Wide receiver coach
Oh,
at Kansas,
yes,
one of the
yes,
most
yes.
embarrassing college programs in the
Agreed,
country.
agreed.
He was there like 5 years ago or less, right? No one was expecting such a nice, well-rounded game plan that attacks the defense that they're playing's weakness. It's been really a joy to watch, and now the question is, can he do it again? Right? So he went up against Seattle. This is Clint Kubiak, the younger Kubiak boy. He went up against Seattle, and he knew that was an aggressive defense. And so you mix in the screen game. You have Alexander Madison. He kind of specializes in the screen a little bit. He'd be a great start this. Well, maybe not great. Desperation start this week. But
Right.
you focus on the screen game against an aggressive defense because Seattle's going to blitz. Seattle's going to pin their ears back. They've just always been aggressive under Pete Carroll. Going forward, this Browns team can rush forward and get just as much pressure. So I don't think the screen game is going to work as much this weekend. And so I'm wondering what is the wrinkle? Like, did you get lucky? Was it Chargers in the playoffs when they did that 7 DB thing against against Lamar Jackson and everyone thought they were brilliant, but then they got their faces pounded the next game because they didn't adapt and they tried the same thing, right? So can you adapt your game plan again? And if the Vikings can move the ball like they have been and score against this Browns defense, and they can pull this win off, I think that's actually a contending team because this Browns team is probably going to pound this Vikings team into the ground. It would be my guess.
Well, yeah, and obviously that's their strength is their running game, right? With Chubb and Hunt, and obviously with Odell coming back this week, that could be a solid start. But it really comes down to it's really hard to see in the NFL, what teams really are. I mean, what we're week 4 here, and you kind of see a lot of the teams what they are. It's hard to really know exactly. The Browns have looked solid, but it was against the Bears, right?
Yeah, Someone I'm a big fan of who covers the Vikings, Matthew Collar, made a point today that it's not usually the beginning or the end of the season where you see what a team's identity is. It's in the middle. It's after you've put your cards on the table and you're like, okay, where do we need to adjust? Like, this is what we're going to attack. This is who we're going to be. Weeks 4 through weeks 8, right? Like, or week 12 even. Week 4 through week 12. Just that 6-month week window is really where we're going to get to know who this team is. I think we do know who the Browns are, though. I think that's been consistent because there was a continuous game plan throughout last season going directly into this season that hasn't changed, and that's fine because it worked really well. And Kevin Stefanski's an excellent offensive play caller, and that run game is great. And I want to say the Vikings spent a lot of money. They extended Kirk Cousins to clear cap room for Michael Pierce, right? Tomlinson, the 3-tech, who's a big 3-tech, more of he was a nose tackle in a 3-4. So we had him as a 3-tech in this offense. He's a good football player, but we're paying over $20 million combined to our 2 interior players. And there's been very little results to show for it in the run game. Joe Mixon tore us up. Edmonds tore us up, right? Oh, I knew it didn't look pretty, but they were getting yards. Last week too, Carson tore up. Really nice game plan by the Seattle, by the way, to play the hurry up on 3rd down because Minnesota likes to rotate. So we had our 3rd down, passed it in, run the hurry up, and boom, touchdown Carson to let. Really nice play calling on offense, to be honest. That was lovely. Too bad they can't defend to save their lives.
So does that? Do you think against that defense? Do you think that Hunt would be better, or do you think that obviously Chubb, they're just going to ride him?
We're rolling both. If I had them both, I'd play them both.
Play them both. Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And it's not a great matchup. And again, the Vikings are a better defense at home under Mike Zimmer. They just run quicker on that turf. And I don't know because I haven't seen an update recently. Anthony Barr, if he is back, that will be a big deal. for the
Okay.
run defense of Minnesota, because he gets from sideline to sideline quicker than almost any, like, that's his thing, right? He is going to hunt down the run, and he takes up space in the pass rushing game, and he takes up space in the run game in a way that allows everyone else to succeed. It's why Zimmer loves him. When you see him blitzing, it's almost always blitzing to take a blocker away from a Daniil Hunter or an Everson Griffin, right? When you see like he is an excellent player that just like bolsters everything around him, right? Not a flashy player. We're always hoping that he would make big splash plays, but he just doesn't really do that. He did his rookie year, and then it just kind of wasn't. So if he's back, I think that's a huge boost to the run defense.
Obviously we talk about flashy plays. Do you think Odell is going to with his return? I believe he's coming back. Is he going to make a splash? And how much of a factor can that be? Obviously, if they can take away the run, how obviously effective will him and maybe it's even a tight end game. Obviously, Baker's going to need to spread it around and obviously get the ball out quick.
Yeah, and it is tough to get it to your back. So this actually might be a tough game for Hunt now that I think about it, because he's gonna have to deal with Eric Kendricks, who's one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. Yeah, they can. I think they can get it going, right? So it could be. So Odell's receivers have been cooking this Vikings secondary, all year. Someone is going to cook this secondary. I kind of want to call like a Schwartz deep touchdown or something like that this week, or just something fun like that. Because Odell's going to get a big play. Someone's going to get a big play, and there's going to be points put up in the air against this secondary for sure.
Fantasy-wise, a sneaky play might be that Dominic Felton, I believe.
Oh yeah, the quick guy.
And I just was watching the Bears game last week, and they were talking about obviously how he's kind of gone into that Jarvis Landry role, and he looked really good, and they were really feeding him against the Bears. And obviously the Bears, the Bears look decent defensively, away, and maybe that's kind of a sneaky play would be Felton there as far as game plan wise. And
14-team league. If you're in a deep one, throwing a little like a call in your shot, playing Felton and getting points, that'd be huge. It could happen too, because we saw KJ Hamler cook him in the preseason. Yeah. We saw is it Kirk? Not Kirk, the other fast guy from the Cardinals.
Oh, Rondale.
Yeah, Rondale Moore. We saw him absolutely cook them. We didn't give up a big play. So the Vikings do give up less big pass plays at home because they're a little bit faster. And right now, Vikings got no fast corners. Like, I think Patrick Peterson's actually might be the fastest corner still, right? So the Vikings could get burned over the top with speed, and they're going to give up. They're going to give up ground in the run game, so it's all, honestly, to me, unless Zimmer plays his trap card like he does every once in a while and just pulls a masterful game plan, which he does like once every 15 weeks or whatever. I see this Kirk having to rise up and just deliver a game, and if he does it, I'm in. I'm on the Kirk. I'm on the Kirk coaster. I don't care if it goes up or down. If he delivers this game and he delivers against this defense in a must-win, another must-win, because the schedule doesn't get easier from here. It gets harder from here. This is the easy part of the schedule.
Yeah, and that's tough. Obviously you say the Kirk coaster, and so would you say that this is going to be a good ride this week then for the Vikings?
No idea. Absolutely no idea. I am starting Kirk Cousins in a league, though. You don't know.
Yeah.
I would say that he has primed himself, and he has primed himself for this to be a big game. He is playing excellent football. He's getting the ball out quicker. The game plan is to his strengths. The offensive line's playing a little bit better, and he's playing kind of pissed off. He's playing a little pissed off. He got a little disrespected this offseason. Him and Zimmer have become closer because of it, which is interesting. They watch film together every week now, which should have really been doing, but it's okay. We'll let that slide.
I feel like there's a best friend meme.
Eventually. I mean, if he can pull this game out, sure. But I think that this is going to be a game a lot like the San Francisco game in the divisional round of 2019. I think the Vikings are going to not be able to keep up in the beginning, and I think once the Vikings get down, they are not going to see the ball very much after that. Would be my
Okay.
guess. So I could see maybe like a 24-17 type of game for the Browns is kind of what I'm feeling. And if it's a rise up game from Kirk, maybe it's a 28-20-24. But I cannot bet. I cannot bet for the Vikings on this one. They're playing a strictly superior roster.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree on that. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Vikings though on this 27-24 because they're at home, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a
And
tough place to play.
it is, and I just I don't know. I just don't know what Baker Mayfield is yet. You know.
That's true, and Hunter, Daniil Hunter is playing the same way he always plays, which is out of his goddamn mind. So he will be back there. Griffin's doing the same things, and Pearson Tomlinson, they've been a disappointment in the run game, but they're NFL players on the defensive line, and that's something that the Vikings lacked last year. So at least we have at least 4 NFL quality players on the line. Yeah, and I guess start everyone, honestly. Start. I think
Well,
it's
yeah, being
yeah,
inside, you kind of
yeah,
have to. So
yeah. Start every Thielen, Jefferson, Cook. Why wouldn't you? Cousin, I'm starting him personally. There's a lot of better options than Cousins this week. That's a risk. That's a roll in the dice
it
for
is.
sure.
Yep.
That's chasing points on a player who doesn't, over the course of history, over a very long career, does not consistently produce. So if you're chasing points from a player doesn't consistently produce like Kirk Cousins, you're taking a risk. But hey, it could pay off.
Well, and you've got some top quarterbacks against some tough defenses, so maybe that's not bad. You've got
Yeah,
Lamar
yeah.
versus Denver, so
And
maybe
Lamar's
it's
been
not so bad.
disappointing. Yeah, Lamar's been disappointing too.
Yeah,
And Lamar versus Denver, that's gonna be a fun game too.
it is.
That one got kicked off, so we could talk about the Vikings though.
Yeah, well, and yeah, obviously this is
Yeah,
I as a Bears fan love talking about the Vikings all the
yeah,
time.
I love
right?
talking about the NFC North for sure.
Well,
Who's
speaking
next?
yeah,
Oh, go
speaking
ahead.
of
Yeah.
NFC North, we've got our other team here in the area, the Packers, and a team where we're not really sure if it has a lot of NFL players at the moment. The Steelers, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Big Ben. It's a tragedy that they're doing this to him, and he's doing this to himself. He should have retired, but he shouldn't have played last year. He shouldn't be playing this year. He's just not an NFL quarterback, and it's really sad because he's it's just a bad time watching him. You're having a bad time watching Big Ben. You can't be happy watching him. It's just sad.
Well, yeah, and it's tough because we talk about with the Bears and stuff with bad offensive line and rookie quarterbacks being
Yeah.
the Jets having bad offensive line and throwing a rookie out there these young rookies who can at least move around, and now with the Steelers have a horrible offensive line, and now you've got like a Big Ben
Yeah, they're
a sitting
down too.
duck.
Yeah, we're injured offensive line as well. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna be. And he's just sitting back there, just hucking. Oh, he's putting his heart and soul into these 20-yard crossing routes, right? And,
Right.
and he can push the ball downfield. Don't get me wrong. He's still putting it up there, but it's not accurate. It's a contested catch every time. You got receivers playing defense on these deep balls more than as much as they're playing offense. So it's like that. It's just not a winning strategy, and I don't see them winning this game.
Well, and it'll be tough too as we kind of preparing for the show. We looked at in Green Bay, it's going to be upper 60s with a 60% chance of rain,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Obviously the Packers have had an issue containing the run, but do they really have enough balance to, with Najee Harris to really then obviously the Packers can key on that.
Yeah, they can sell out, especially with Alexander over the top back there. They can sell out a little bit to stop the run, and I mean it could be right. They don't. It doesn't matter if you sell out if you're bad too, right? And they're kind of bad. They're kind of bad at it, right? So this could be right if we're calling like unlikely things. This could be a Najee Harris bust on the scene game, right? Or in Lambeau, poor weather, bad team, make something happen. But other than that, I guess and it depends on the wind, really. Because 60 and rainy is like, yeah, a little bad, but we've seen Rodgers really struggle in the wind in Lambeau. The Vikings coming out of the bye week last year had no business beating that Packers team, but there was a 30, 40 mile an hour wind, so it was a game of running, and Vikings run the ball well. So if the Steelers can run the ball well, and it's really kind of a squally day, there's a chance, right? There's a puncher's chance there. But you'd be crazy. They look dead. That team looks dead already. It's week 3, and they're playing one of the best offenses in the NFL on their home field. It's nuts to try and predict the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, it's really, obviously the Steelers, they've had they've got great players in the secondary, and they've had a great defense, but obviously they haven't done as well as they were predicted to this year. And I don't know. I mean, is that part of it? Could that be because of the offensive struggles? Obviously with the Bears, the Bears did as well as could be expected versus the Browns defensively.
Yeah.
And then they were just on, out there on the field for so long, then you start to be worn down. And that's why I wonder what's happened to the Steelers. They're just getting worn down. And obviously, playing some, tough quarterbacks, and obviously it doesn't change. It doesn't get any easier this week versus
it gets harder. Well, I guess harder than they've played tough quarterbacks the whole year, and it's an offensive league. And if you can't, like, they are inept right now on offense, right? They're hucking prayers. They're running the ball a little bit. Like, they're making a little bit of noise because they have really good skill position players. It's a really shame. They have an excellent wide receiving core and a really fun young running back. And it's like, you can't do anything because the offensive line is poor, and the guy throwing the ball would probably be bad even if they were good on the offensive line. It's Yeah, man.
So to say, like,
you go, yeah.
I would say, yeah, like if the Steelers are going to get right, this would be the game. It's even here in the area. You have people who are, wishing Dom Capers was back. And I've heard for years everyone talking down about Dom Capers, and now they don't have him. They've got Brady. It was Joe Brady, I believe, and he has just not had good calls at all. Even head coach was calling him out.
Calling him out. Yeah, you got to throw someone under the bus, all right? When that's happening. No, but and the Steelers could win this game on defense. It's absolutely possible. They could get to. They could get to Big Ben. They could get to Aaron Rodgers and just shut him down. They have T.J. Watt back, and my dog's going crazy. They have T.J. Watt back, and maybe he just takes over the game and wins it for him. It is possible. Hard to predict, though. That's kind of the thing about a defensive first team is they're good, and when it all comes together and everyone's healthy, it's just a beautiful thing to watch. But it's so rare today, and it's so hard to do because it's just dismantled. Like, if you're not perfect, right, a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers is going to win. He's just going to beat you if you can't score points, which they just really can't. It's too well.
They can't, and they really can't keep up with Rodgers, and Adams is just superior route runner, and this kind of does feel like a Robert Tonyan game too, right? If it's rainy,
that's Robert Tonyan's season.
It really is, So Aaron Jones, obviously, you got to start. You got to start your players, but I think Robert Tonyan could have a big game here. Obviously,
I think he's a slam start for me. Unless I have another better, it'd be hard. Like, if you have a better option, it's obvious you have a better option, right? It's like a Travis Kelce or you know what I mean? Like, it's a top 3-4. But he's getting open. He's catching balls. He's scoring touchdowns. Like, it's full go on Tonyan this year for me.
Right. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with I had a little bit higher scoring, but because of the rain, I thought about a little bit, and then also thinking about Big Ben's ineptitude. I'm going to go with the Packers 27-17 here.
Yeah, I'm thinking more. Yeah, I'm thinking along the same lines. Maybe I would go like 27-14. I don't think they're going to score more. I don't think the Steelers are going to score more than 14 points, unless is what I would guess, because that's kind of where they've been sitting. It feels like just kind of in the 14 to 21 range, and Yeah, if it's raining, like that does negatively affect the Packers' passing game. But what's Big Ben gonna do in the rain?
Oh,
You
right,
know what I
right,
mean?
right, right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in that range is great. And at least a touchdown, for the Packers. And
Yeah.
I'm starting every Packer. I'm not starting Valdez Scantling. I won't do it. I
Ah,
won't do
yeah.
it.
Don't do that. And then, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to live by that player, do it Lazard and at least do it with a little style.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, speaking of style, kind of going into a team that's been all style the last few years, the Chiefs,
Mm.
and they are really in a must-win game here.
Yeah, it's wild how quickly it gets away from you. And the Chiefs are in a tough division, and the lesser teams in that division are playing really well and are beating bad teams and are stacking up wins. And if you stack up wins early in the season, it takes the pressure off. You stack up losses early in the season, and all of a sudden you're in a hole, and it's not as fun anymore. Maybe if you're the Chiefs, who have just been, like you said, the class, the the style of the NFL for a few years now, slipping a little bit.
And really, it's been on the defense, and that's why
Yeah.
I kind of look at this game, and obviously I've been all in on Devontae Smith, and you know they're gonna have to, and obviously the Chiefs are going to score points, and the if they're going to keep up, they're going to have to throw it, and obviously Devontae Smith can get open, so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it's a obviously Devontae Smith game, but there's also the between Miles Sanders and Kenneth Gainwell. I mean that's kind of an interesting you know share between the carries and touches. But this actually last week.
Yeah, I have a few. I stashed Gainwell. Gainwell's a great stash. I don't know if I'm playing him this week. I feel like you'd have to be a little desperate to play him this week. Maybe you lost McCaffrey, didn't get Hubbard, type of desperation. Maybe Sanders will be fine. That's a great start. I think he's going to get a lot of work. And Gainwell does good catching passes. He doesn't run like great, or he hasn't run great, but he'll line up in the slot. He'll catch passes out of the backfield, and as long as he doesn't get ran off the field in pass pro, I think if you're desperate, he might get you 9 points, is what it feels like.
And that's that might be okay to get
Yeah,
9-10
yeah, if
points.
you have to.
It's interesting. We were talking about this earlier with the offensive line. It's just really the Eagles is kind of in shambles.
Yeah, same as the Bears, same as the Steelers. It's been rough. They're just beat up. They're down a couple tackles. They're down. If you look at the injury report, it's like the whole offensive line. And like, yeah, they played a little bit in practice on Thursday. They had a limited on Thursday. That's not the best sign.
Mm.
But yeah, it's. I think this is going to be one of those lines that the Chiefs can get home against, and the Chiefs don't have an elite pass rush by any measure. But if they can't get home against this line, I think that's kind of it for their Super Bowl hopes. Because if you can't pressure the quarterbacks at all, right? If you can't pressure Hurts behind one of the worst performing offensive lines in the NFL, I mean, then Matthew Stafford's going to pass all over you in the playoffs and the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Or like,
Absolutely.
or Tom Brady, or
If they right.
or Josh Allen is going to pass all over you if you
Yeah.
can't pressure this line. So yeah, I hope. Well, actually, I kind of hope the Eagles win this one because that'd be fun. But I would think that the Chiefs would get it together for this one, and Patrick Mahomes would just say, "No, this is a win. I know, like everything's going bad, but this is a bad team, so this is a win." Right? Because he certainly has that power. I mean,
He's got that. Yep.
pretty much all the top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL right now have the power to decide to beat Philadelphia. It's just if you get them on a good or bad day.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up. I was just thinking. You talked about the fantasy format that nobody really wants to talk about or likes to talk about, and one that I haven't done, IDP. I was thinking it would be kind of funny if there was a format that included offensive linemen and their grades. And, I was listening to Chicago Sports Talk Radio, and they talked about how, no one really knows how to grade offensive linemen, other than they're big and you hear footwork and things like that. But it's obviously that is a key to a lot of these teams that are good to really go into great, and the Chiefs have been great because of Mahomes,
Mhm.
and can they stay there? And obviously they've been down this year.
Yeah, too. Just some disappointed losses, and I wonder. So I feel like that the Eagles secondary probably just because they did lose to LA Chargers last week. They have some good players in the secondary, right? Derwin James, one of the best coverage safeties in the league, could be a corner, but he's good at everything, so he's a safety. He would be, I think, he'd be a lockdown corner if he was a corner, even, right? So, and they have good cornerbacks as well in front of that, and a decent pass rush, right? So if you got all those things and your quarterback hits on some big plays for you like Herbert did. That was fun to watch. You love to see it. Oh, what a huge game for the rookie, second year player. Yeah, you can beat this team, right? But I don't see any of those tools on the Eagles defense. Like it's like a minus compared to who's it's minus on every level. So like the Chiefs lost to an in-division game to a really good opponent who played a really good game one day. I don't. That's not the Titanic sinking quite yet. If the Chiefs lose to the Eagles, it might be. We're jumping off. We're jumping off
Oh,
the bandwagon, bailing,
absolutely.
bailing.
Absolutely.
But I just don't see it happening. Short of seeing things that we haven't seen. Like I don't like to predict something that we have never seen. Right? It would be a unique circumstance for Hurts to just put up like 40 points, right, and just be throwing dimes down the field on the run to Smith, and it would be a departure from what we've seen. So I don't see it happening.
So yeah, that's so interesting. Obviously Hertz had he had one, two, maybe three games at the end of last year that, I mean,
Hmm.
he was doing well.
Hmm.
But obviously now this week, you see the rumors again of Deshaun Watson to the Eagles, and yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, I think Hertz can be a great quarterback, or at least a good quarterback, maybe not great.
Yeah.
Um, but it's not going to go away if he doesn't, start to really do something, and the Chiefs have a susceptible defense where he could really put up numbers. I don't know if I don't think they're going to win this game, but fantasy wise, he has an opportunity here to at least put up numbers. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. I think he probably will. I think the Chiefs' pass rush is going to get home, but what that probably will lead to is like 5 yard scramble here, 10 yard scramble there, right? And just and a quarter, which is what Hurts is very good at, very good in scrambling on and off schedule, and that's great for fantasy. And so he will put up fantasy points. He'll probably he can land some passes too. I could see a passing touchdown or two landing, no problem. It's a beatable defense, right? But from a football standpoint, that's just not going to cut it, right? Running for your
mhm.
life, and then but for fantasy, I like him this week. I'd play him for sure. He hasn't been exactly what people were hoping this year, because the rushing touchdowns haven't been there like they were last year. But I'd play him this week. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, obviously the Cowboys defense has been improved, and so they really shut them down.
Yeah.
They did a good job, and obviously the Chiefs defense is susceptible. I have it being a high scoring game here, and it could be a lot of garbage points for
Yeah.
Hurts as well. I have the Chiefs winning 45-31. Obviously the Chiefs are going to get theirs.
31.
But
Get right. Yeah,
it,
exercise the demons game. 45 burger on the Eagles. Yeah, that sounds fine. Yeah, I think that sounds great.
it's going to be interesting too, as far as Philly. They're not happy with Santa Claus, so
Hmm.
another loss here, another loss there. For me and the Bears, I'm not expecting wins, right?
Yeah.
But the Eagles, they're up there expecting wins.
It's a tough market. It's a tough market to play in for sure. So is Chicago, honestly, but nothing's like Philly.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that fan base expects, and they'll let them know. And that is, yeah, it's just a bad roster. Just a bad roster. And Hurts, like you said, good quarterback. Hurts is the kind of quarterback, if you had a really good roster, you can win with on a rookie contract. But by the time they get this roster in shape, they're going to have to pay the kid, and that's going to be a no. Right? Then what are we doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's kind of a tragic timing for him, to be honest. And Deshaun Watson, does not bring this team out of the gutter, by the way. We've seen him play on bad rosters, and he's good for like 5 wins, which has been like, 3 wins above replacement, which is insane because he's incredible. But you can't drag a nothing roster with you. You need something, right? You need like elite receiving. You need good pass protection. You need something on defense. You need an identity on defense at least, whether it's like a swarming secondary or just like a good pass rush. They just don't have any of it. They don't have any of it. They have one good receiver and a couple of fast guys and a quarterback with limited upside.
So yeah, who would your comp be for Hurts then? Who's already in the league?
I would. Let's see. What's his name? Oh man, comp for Hurts would be a good one.
Because we talk about Deshaun Watson. He's obviously a playmaker, but we have no idea what's going to happen with him on the exempt list.
He should be on it already.
Yeah, Watson is a fantastic player. Hurts is he's supposedly dynamic, but he just hasn't been as dynamic as Watson.
He's kind of like a Tyrod Taylor kind of guy, is what I kind of see him as. Maybe as who is the kid out of Oregon who played for the Titans? It's silly that I'm forgetting his name.
Mariota,
kind of a Mariota in effect or in results, right? Where it's like, that's pretty good, but their team never wins. Right. So I see that, but. Yeah, once he gets off the rookie contract, I see, unless Hurts shows us once again something we haven't seen yet, because he's an excellent leader. I think he knows how to run a locker room for sure. I could see him being a really nice journeyman quarterback, having a nice little career for himself. But I don't see, unless this roster gets flipped around in 2 years, which is looking unlikely, maybe, you never know. I see his rookie contract being wasted.
Yeah. Well, that's really the big thing. You got all these, the quarterbacks, and it's really, you can't fully, evaluate them if they don't have the surrounding talent. Fields doesn't have it yet. He's got a chance to, to really, hopefully rise to the occasion. Maybe not this year, but in future years. And
absolutely. And Fields, and the thing about those quarterbacks, they have upside, right? So Fields has tremendous upside, right? On every level, right? He's just like he's like a 5-tool baseball player, right? He's got everything he needs, and Hurts doesn't, right? Hurts has a lot of, he's pretty good. He's pretty good at all the things that, he's a toolsy quarterback, but none of them are elite.
Right.
Whereas Fields is a toolsy quarterback, and he has elite accuracy, elite arm strength, and for 4.3 speed, right? So you know what I mean? That's just a difference that's hard to make up, especially on a bad roster.
Well, speaking of rosters, obviously I have to bring up that we are facing each other in our fantasy football league this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And good on you for giving me the tip to play Tyler Boyd tonight. That was very chivalrous of you.
Like I say, when I win, I like to win fair and square. So
absolutely. Yeah, I'd lend you money for sure. Let's see how. Yeah, what did he end up? 20 points. Yeah, you'll 20, take it. Yeah. You'll take it from your wide receiver 3.
Absolutely.
I did draft him as my 2, to be honest. I was higher on Boyd than I guess everyone was, and apparently people had pretty good reason to be less high than me, but I've just always seen him as such a good slot receiver. And we've seen Joe Burrow have immense success with slot receivers in college, so with Justin Jefferson. So I that's what I was looking for, but he was pretty awful until this last week.
Well, yeah, and so I didn't see the final highlights, but it was a good game, and Joe Burrow did pull this one out. So so he drove down, and they got the field goal as time expired, basically, and so he's one of those quarterbacks that I had picked up, and thought that obviously he would be a good to really take the Bengals to the next level. So we'll really see. Obviously versus the Jaguars, who really knows, But, week 4, there's going to be a lot of things kind of taking shape. And, obviously going on to week 5 for next week, it'll be interesting to see how things kind of pan out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be a good matchup, even though he put up 20, I'm still predicted to lose. I'm tanking a little bit this year. I'm not a big dynasty guy. This is a startup draft, so I took a lot of high upside guys that aren't going to play right away.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. I did pick up Chuba Hubbard,
Oh yeah.
and I still could, put in Hunt there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
my first year doing a dynasty too. It's always fun, but you,
Yeah.
I you just never know the projections and all that, and
Yeah,
it's fun.
projections are garbage, right?
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
just awful. I mean, they do it because people want to outsource their decision making, right? So you say who is projected for more points, and just like I guess we'll end this on some general wisdom for succeeding in fantasy football, but in games in general.
yeah.
I'm a guy who likes all sorts of games. If you adopt the correct process, the individual strategical moves they make that those choices are made for you by yourself, and you don't need to outsource those to rankings or ESPN or anything like that. But if you have sound, if you just practice, if you develop your own principles, right? Be your own person, be your own fantasy player. How do you want to play this game? And you stick to those, you'll have a little bit of success. You'll have more success than most people who just wing it every week based on projections.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I've never been someone who likes the whole rankings thing. Everyone's doing
Yeah,
rankings, and
yeah,
I like the matchups, right? And I think that's important.
yeah,
Always looking at the matchups because it can be where you've got what is the some of the top players that are going to be on
yeah.
tough corners. Obviously, this week there's a lot of that.
Yeah,
With
bad
Ramsey.
quarterback matchups this week for sure. And then
Yeah.
you wonder that's the great one. I do love that philosophical debate. Do you stick to your studs when they are up against a tough opponent? And it really depends a lot on how you like to play.
It does. It does. Well, this has been a fun week. I'm ready to see how it kind of pans out, and obviously, we've got our show on Tuesday. You're going to be gone,
I'm
right?
gonna be
So
gone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It'll be maybe a guest host.
I have a guest host to talk a little bit about the dynasty, hopefully to help me.
There we
Unfortunately, it
go.
can't help me beat you this week, but
No, that's okay.
yeah,
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 you get the live seminar anyway. I'll just have to catch it on video.
we'll get it, and then we'll be back next week with another preview of Week 5. So
Yeah, preview week 5, recap of week 5. Here we go. Check it out on YouTube. NFL Outdated. Is that the account, or did we make a new account for?
well, it's on mine, NFL Outdated, but we can definitely
Gotcha.
make a new
No,
a new
no, no,
account.
no. It's good. I just wanted to
Yeah.
make sure I said it right. Find NFL Outdated on YouTube. Check us out on Twitter at NFL Outdated, at Uneducated Takes. We're out there just doing dumb stuff.
And it's all good. Love it. So
All right. All right.